Good afternoon, preppers. Welcome to Goshen Prepping. Of course, when it comes to preparedness, we need to prepare for all sorts of problems, not simply just stockpiling or even just doing drills in your house. But one of those problems you really need to focus on and think about is cybersecurity. And you have to do everything you can to protect your devices because those devices have sensitive information about you. Now, you must watch this because people tend to ignore some of the information coming out of these kind of videos, but they're actually some of the most important videos to watch. I think because people think the threat is really not real, but it definitely is. And tomorrow, even more so, I really want to stress this. Tomorrow's video is going to add on to this and show you the ramifications that's going to be absolutely crazy, insane that things are happening and going in that direction. So make sure you stay tuned tomorrow as well. But in this video, we're going to talk about specifically what major attacks may look like or attacks against you. And it is frightening also, and you'll definitely see. Let's go ahead and start off with this little video. I want to thank very much one of our followers sent this to us. It is a live cyber threat map. And I'll put a link below for this in case you actually want to bring this on your computer as well. But you can see how often and how fast these attacks are taking place in real time around the world. And also you can see at the bottom, there are 3 specific types of cyber attacks that are being monitored. The first is called malware, and mal simply just means malicious software. And it's where software, or some kind of program gets installed on your computer, sometimes even without your knowledge, in fact, often without your knowledge, and it causes intentionally harmful things to happen to your system or breaches your security. That includes things like viruses, worms, Trojan horses, ransomware, spyware. All those things will make your computer obviously not run correctly, but what I found, it often actually makes your computer run very slow. I mean, sometimes when it does that, your Windows just is trying to update, which drives me crazy. But it starts running slow, and then even more so on your browser, you may get alerts, pop-ups, certain websites that keep popping up on there. That's definitely bad news. You need to get some kind of anti-malware software, a reputable brand, by the way, to be able to make that happen. The second is called phishing. And phishing, I'm sure you've seen this before. We get these things all the time in our email that drive me nuts, but it'll pop up and say, maybe you actually want to buy new blinds for your house or something that it's actually, we'll say like Renewals by Anderson, a brand you actually may know, but sometimes the lettering's just off a little bit. And they do that purposely so it doesn't get flagged by the software already looking for phishing stuff on your computer. And if you open up the email, as long as everything's on your computer set, that's not the problem. But what happens is when you actually respond or click links on there, try to reply or follow addresses, anything you may click on the email or even download videos and stuff, definitely bad news. You don't want to click on any of those. I even get to the point where we have followers on the channel will email me stuff and say, wow, watch this video, instead of actually having a reputable link like to YouTube or something, not saying YouTube's reputable, you know what I'm saying, but or something like that. It'll be just some kind of file, and there is no way I will do that. Even if you know the person, they may actually have garbage on their computer which gets embedded in that file, and then you open it and now you have that garbage on your computer as well. You're asking for trouble because those specific types of links and things you'll click on will actually breach your computer and give away financial information, even sometimes sensitive information like your social security number, and that is their objective. Now, unless I'm 100% certain, I will not open something like that. And I wouldn't, if I were you, I wouldn't do it either. You're just asking for trouble. And finally, the third one you'll notice on here are called exploits. And more specifically, vulnerabilities in your computer systems, not even just our computers, but computers in general, and the exploits that hackers use to exploit your system to be able to, honestly, even take over the whole thing. Now, the first 2 are very serious. Phishing and malware, very serious. But when it comes to exploits and vulnerabilities, those are extremely serious, especially when it comes to concerns for our country, for security, businesses, or even the world. Now, here's a book I read. I've recommended this in the past. This is How They Tell Me the World Ends, The Cyberweapons Arms Race. Fantastic book. And it really goes into detail of the things that are happening behind the scenes that you and I typically would not know about. I'll put a link below if you want to pick this book up. Now, when it comes to vulnerabilities and exploits, they are the reason for the title of this book. And they will conceivably end the world because when a software manufacturer puts out a piece of software, let's just say it's just Windows, it doesn't matter, you name it. When they put the code in, we're talking about millions of lines of code, and it's very difficult to make sure you check every single line that's actually going to set it up so exploits take place. So what happens is hackers find one of those little lines of code and says, oh, look, this is something I can exploit and therefore get into like Windows. So literally, it could happen. In fact, it does happen where you're just on your computer and your computer's connected to the internet and somebody is literally using that one exploit in that Windows version you have, whatever version you have, whatever system or software, anything you have, they use it to get in there and they can actually do things like mess with your Windows, get into your sensitive information. But this is just your personal computer. This is happening on government computer levels as well, and has happened and continuously happens. And the governments are trying their best to stop this from happening, or certain parts of the government, usually like with 3-letter acronyms, will use these against other governments. And that's the whole point of this. This is showing you all kinds of different types of, again, in yellow, the exploits that are taking place around the world, which is a continuous happening. And again, I'll address it again. Tomorrow's video goes into more detail about this, about some things that are coming around. And that video is going to, don't miss it. How about that? All right. These exploits are in everything. And practically speaking, since everything is becoming internet-based now, it is literally opening up the world to be able to let people exploit this. For example, this is actually why people can actually watch you through the camera of your computer, or through your phone, or listen to your audio. They can actually track your vehicle, know your vehicle's location. Even more so, it's actually been done where these exploits, people can actually access the kill switch in your car, which, there's a good chance your car has one, and shut down your car. This has been happening while the people are even driving their car. The car will just shut down because hackers get in. They can open your hotel room doors. I don't know if you know, but the scan cards in hotels, that's not a local device. It's actually connected, and literally the hotel knows every time something is swiped on the door when people go in and out. They keep track of all this stuff. They can stop an elevator, all from the outside computer world. In other words, they're not in the hotel, but literally through the internet. They can actually change traffic lights at will, infiltrate, obviously, your bank account, which is bad news. Even more seriously, destroy facilities in Iran, the centrifuges they're using to enrich nuclear material. And I say that one specifically because that's actually one of the very first huge exploits that took place. It was such a covert operation that literally destroyed a huge part of Iran's nuclear program. Or possibly they could set a ground stop with the FAA, with their NOTAM system. Now, the FAA said that when that ground stop happened, it was not a cybersecurity reason, and this is why. It's these exploits where people get into it. They say it wasn't. Again, we don't know if it really was or not, but they said that was simply something they're investigating. They'll figure it out. But the government has admitted overall, we are, in the United States, vulnerable to cyber attacks, including, and not only just including, but especially, ready for this? They've admitted our power grid is especially susceptible to cyber attacks. We're not talking about, let's shut down the power, then they'll regain the system. We're talking about setting up on our equipment to make sure the machinery goes into what's called overspeed, so it literally blows up the equipment. I'm not laughing because it could be catastrophic, and it'll take months, if not years, to rebuild some of that equipment again. That's literally all within scope of these cyber attacks. Okay? Because understand, when it comes to all these things, this is where preparedness comes into place. Are you prepared to not have power for a few weeks, a couple months, a couple years? It's not simply stockpiling food and water, though. It's important that we know these vulnerabilities because others are always there to exploit them. And you need to ask yourself, computer or otherwise, how are you vulnerable?